and he's with us tonight, so I'm so thankful to have him. Frank Teriaca, he had an amazing article. Boy, I did not spell that right at all. My bad. He gave the coaching staff letter grades. And so we were going to go through those and we're going to ask the question, did Frank get the letter grades right or wrong, and why? Do we agree with them? Do we disagree with them? Let me go ahead and grab the link for that article for everybody at this very second, and I will put that in the comments for everybody so that you can go check out that article. Give Frank a couple more hits there on that article. And also, you can follow right along with us as we go through the article and discuss what he wrote. So, the first letter grade he handed out was to our special teams coordinator, Parker Fleming. He gave him a letter grade of failing, F.
Correct.
No argument there from Aaron. Aaron said yes. Chris?
Yep.
Yes, you agree?
Yeah, he is without a doubt the biggest waste of space on this coaching staff.
All right. Do you all agree? Yes, F for Parker Fleming. Put it in the comments. I agree with Frank as well. I think our special teams has been horrendous the past couple years. They're again, it not that it cost us the game against the team up north this year, but it sure didn't help. It sure didn't help. And why have someone on your staff who is not only a bad coach, but is not really helping you in recruiting either? So I would get rid of that one. So we agree with you, Frank, on Parker Fleming. F for that one. Next up is defensive line coach Larry Johnson. He gave him a letter grade of C+. Aaron.
I do not agree with that. I would have said, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm reading the reasoning behind it.
Uh-huh.
And I don't agree with the reasoning. Was the pass rush a problem? Yes, that was a problem. Okay. The recruiting stayed good. He got two guys that were coming in that are really good. They're both 5 stars.
We lost one.
Justin Scott.
We
lost him to Miami this week.
Lost him.
Edric Houston.
Still coming.
Okay. So far. Right.
Yeah. Right.
But have faith. It's Larry Johnson. We will get somebody who is decent. Okay. But to say a C+, I feel like a solid B would be pretty good, considering Michigan ran the ball through us last year like water, like we weren't there. And that's to me, the way he fixed that was good. So I think a B or a B- even would be the lowest that I would go for Larry.
Chris. C+ for Johnson.
Yeah. I actually kind of agree with the C+. I understand where Aaron's coming from, but you know what? I look at this team, the talent we had on that defensive line, and I think it is ridiculous that we only had 22 sacks on the season. How is that even possible with that talent on the line? It's just, it tells me that we have a serious issue with our pass rush. 22 sacks for 144 yards lost over 12 games. That means we're averaging less than 2 sacks for less than 12 yards worth of loss per game. Not acceptable.
So it seems sacrilegious to not, give LJ something more than a C+ because he is a living legend. But Chris, I'm with you. I actually think that grade is a little lenient.
Yeah, I was thinking hard C or strong C originally, but
you guys don't think that the interior or the run defense or the pressure rating had anything? It's just we're judging him solely off of pressure or quarterback sacks. He gets a C+ for that.
Off of
that's what you got, because that's all we're talking about right now is him getting sacks. Never mind everything else that goes into the game.
I do believe the run stopping was much improved. I do believe the defense against the run was much improved. I agree with that. You know what? He did lose one of his 5-star recruits, so I don't think he can get the full
That's
credit for the
not that's
recruiting.
not all his fault though. That had more to do with NIL than anything.
You know what though? At the end of the day, you're judged on what you do.
You know
And
what? Let's bookmark this. Let's bookmark this one. This is going to be a great topic. Is because it might be time LJ needs to consider retirement.
yeah,
Um,
I'd hate to see it, but really, the last few years, the defensive line has just not played up to their full potential. I don't
I
believe.
agree with that.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, I would go back to starting with.
So the question is if we agree with that, Chris,
Yeah,
then does that justify the C plus grade? Aaron says no. You and I both say yes. Let's bookmark this one. Come back to this in another show. This is a great topic. Maybe we'll have Frank on, and we'll talk about this and let him talk a little bit more about it, because this was one of the grades where I was like, ooh, this could be interesting, and it was. So
yeah.
good job, Frank. That's why you write these articles, right?
Yep.
All right, next up, Tim Walton, the cornerbacks coach. He gave him an A. And let me go first. Tim Walton deserves that A. And I don't know if you guys follow him on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, go follow Coach Tim Walton. He is awesome. He has become one of my favorite coaches on this staff. And wouldn't you know it, he's a Buckeye. He played at Ohio State. Go
Yes,
figure.
sir.
Do you agree or disagree, Chris? A for Walton.
Oh, absolutely, and you're right. He's a Buckeye. He played for this team. He understands it. He gets what we're trying to do. He gets what Ohio State football is all about. His guys performed at an elite level this year.
Yes, yeah, 100% agree. I mean, he took, Jordan Hancock, he plugged him in a handful of times throughout the season. The guy never missed a beat. Denzel Burke came back stronger than ever. Dude from Ole Miss, Igbinosun, transfer came in, coached him right up. Dude played like he's been here for years. I mean, give that man a raise.
The freshman, Jermaine Matthews.
Yeah, that's another one. Perfect.
Played
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yes.
In my opinion, should be probably won't be fresh. He won't be a freshman All-American because he just didn't play enough, but should be considered for probably second team if they had that, which I don't think they do. But
yeah.
Hashtag give Coach Walton a raise. Let's get that going.
There you go. All right, next up, staying in the defensive backfield, Perry Eliano, the safeties coach. He got a B minus, Chris.
I would have probably gone for a B with Eliano. I think he did a decent job. The safeties did have some problems at times being out of position. But overall, I felt for the most part of the season, our safeties looked pretty good. They were good against the run. They were, decent in coverage. And all the guys, now whether this had to do more with Eliano or Walton or both, I don't know. But it seemed like all our guys were looking back for the ball this year, something that Aaron and myself and you have all griped about. So I really feel like I think both the defensive backs coaches did a pretty good job. I would have probably gone a B with him.
Aaron?
Yeah. I actually agree with the article. I could see a B as well. And I actually like the reasoning in the article. When your cousin is KJ Bolden, and I think he was a 5-star, a very highly rated safety that we should have gotten. When you fumble the ball on your own cousin, you don't get an A minus. You don't get a B plus. You fall into the B minus category.
Totally agree. B minus for me as well. All right, let's go to the defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles. He gave him a B plus. Aaron, you're first.
Yeah, I could make an argument for an A minus just because of the turnaround, but I'm not going to. And it's simply because it kind of felt like I don't know what happened with Michigan. I'm going to take it there. How can you judge it off of one game? Because it's the game. It's not just one game. I got a problem with that, but I don't have a problem with the letter grade. B plus. I agree.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree with him as well. This is a guy who I think he had a strong A going into the last week of the regular season.
Yes.
But the fact that we couldn't get off and as Frank pointed out, we couldn't get off the field against Michigan, that was a huge problem. The fact that they got 3 fourth down conversions was a huge problem. So yeah, I think a B plus is absolutely fair here.
I agree with you guys. I'm not going to make any more points because I think you guys are totally on it. Going over to the offense now, let's take a look at running backs coach Tony Alford. He gave Tony a B plus. Chris?
Well, based on the performance of Travion Henderson, I would say that seems fair. I didn't go quite that high. I felt like a B would have been, I think, a little more deserving because there were times we struggled still in that running game. But overall, they were solid. I had a B, but I can see his argument for the B plus.
I'm in agreement with it. He turned Chip into a running back from linebacker.
Yes, he did.
Travion, it's Dallin Hayden. I can't argue it. He's done a good job consistently for years. So
B plus. It could be percentage points. It's one and the same almost. So I'm with you guys. I think Tony Alford was an A level running backs coach at one time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he had a bad cycle of recruiting, and we hammered him for that on this show. Came back and
let's not forget the injuries.
Came back and had an amazing recruiting class with all this promise. Travion Henderson exploded onto the field as a freshman. We thought we were getting the second coming of Archie Griffin, or at least Eddie George. And it's not been that. And I don't know how much of that is Tony Alford's fault to be blamed, but I'll say this. Who did he have ready to take that spot? Every person that came into that game when Henderson couldn't go ended up getting hurt themselves. Again,
yeah.
How much can you really put that on the running backs coach? I don't know. Not much.
And the O-line issues.
So I'm in agreement. I can't go against that. So I'll go B plus. Now this one ought to be interesting. Offensive line coach Justin Fry. Frank gave him a D. I like Justin Fry. I like it when he talks, when he speaks. I was like, I believe this guy, and I really thought he was going to come in here and really change things around for this offensive line. I'm not so sure he ain't worse than Coach Studrawa.
Well, and I think Stud was a good coach up until the end when he
got his back injury, and he hasn't coached. He hasn't coached since. I don't know that he can, which is terrible for him. But where's the recruiting wins? Where's the development?
None.
I'm not seeing it. I think Frank was kind of lenient with a D, in all honesty.
Yeah. And then you go into the transfer portal, and the best thing you can come out with is the most penalized guy in college football.
Yes. Thank you. I disagree with the letter grade. It's an F. D is way too nice. And when I say F, I'm talking like 30%. Dude is a failure.
Oof. I don't know about that one, Aaron. The offensive line did get better this year. I mean, they did, Aaron. You mean to tell me that when Chris and I went and watched this offensive line, did we not say they're going to get our quarterback killed?
How much is natural? Okay, but
that's it though. How much of it's natural progression versus
yes, because they're gonna gel just by proxy, by playing together. I can't give him that much credit.
Okay. I like what Brian Oberst and Jaro Happiness are doing in here. They're picking former studs at Ohio State and saying they need to be the coach.
I like
it. For offensive line coach.
Oh, man, I'd love that.
That'd
There's
be
one.
huge.
There's one in here that Brian
Yes,
has.
he would be.
There's one in here that Brian Oberst has that I have starred. I'm gonna come back to as a comment. I loved it, so I'm gonna keep that one and come back to it, Brian, and pull that one up. All right. Moving on. So we have Justin Fry. He gave a D. Keenan Bailey, the tight ends coach, he gave him a B. I'm all about Keenan Bailey, guys, right now. I think Keenan Bailey might be the gem on this coaching staff that no one knows about. Cade Stover's development. You want to talk development? Let's talk development.
Yeah.
Cade Stover's development was good enough to where I believe Cade Stover is going to be, if not a late first round pick, I think he's a solid second round pick. Chris, do you agree?
I do, and I also like what he's done. I think Guy Scott was much more effective this year.
Yes.
And let's not forget, he did go out. He got himself a nice recruit in Jelani Thurman, who I think is going to be a beast down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he's doing everything right now. He's got a lot of respect in that locker room from the players.
Not just the tight ends either.
Not just the tight ends. I look at this guy and I think Frank might have been a little hard on him here. I'm going to go with an A- on this one.
Keenan Bailey just had an interview, I think, with East Carolina for their OC job.
No.
And so
Yes.
I don't. Yeah, he did. But I don't know that even the OC East Carolina makes what the tight ends coach at Ohio State does. So Ohio State might be able to be like, hey, you know what? That might be one of those where the guy goes and takes the interview and then Ohio State comes back with a raise. Okay?
Yeah.
So, Aaron, your thoughts on Keenan Bailey?
I agree with Chris all the way.
Okay. This one's another interesting one. Quarterback Corey Dennis. Gave him a C. Let me be honest with you. Corey Dennis got this job because he is the nephew of one Urban Meyer. He's not the quarterback's coach. He's not. It's Ryan Day.
We've only got one person to blame for the development of our quarterbacks.
It's Ryan Day. Brian Oberst, I agree with you. JT Barrett should be the quarterback's coach. He's killing it.
I love it. He's coaching up in Detroit right now, isn't he?
He's killing it.
He's on the coaching staff in Detroit.
And you guys know that JT was not my favorite quarterback at Ohio State, but you know what?
But he's a smart
winner.
man.
He's a winner, and
his dad was a coach.
He's got a high football IQ.
Yes, he's got a coaching lineage.
I'm all for Corey Dennis getting the thanks but no thanks and going after JT Barrett as our quarterback's coach.
Or Kenny Guyton.
Well, Kenny's an offensive coordinator now at Arkansas. So.
I know.
They just hired their old coach who got in trouble and they fired and was that Texas?
Petrino.
Petrino. He's more of a wide receivers coach.
Yeah, but I think that I don't know. He may have something.
I'm sure we can find some place for smooth jazz on our sideline.
Brian or Kenny Guyton as QB coach. I would like to see him as the wide receiver coach if Brian Hartline becomes a true OC.
Yeah.
And we need another wide receiver coach. Corey Dennis, C, I guess.
What? I don't care. I don't care. Corey Dennis has
Corey Dennis next to Parker Fleming is the second biggest waste of space on this coaching staff.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
It really does. I feel
like it.
And it amazes me that we've got a serious commodity in James Laurinaitis sitting there, who's not an official coach, and we've got these two yahoos on the sideline sucking up payroll and air.
Mm-hmm.
They really just both need to go away.
That needs to happen. Reports were that on the sideline, Laurinaitis was the only coach on the sideline getting into players' faces during the Michigan game. The only one.
That can't happen.
No,
that cannot happen.
He and Hartline need to take turns smacking these guys around and getting them into.
Frank, Dennis was the hardest one. What does he do?
Exactly.
I was going to say,
Frank. What does that was a grade of indifference is what Frank did right there.
Frank's like, I'm not sure what to do here. I'll just go right in the middle. C. Oh, that's great, Frank. Brian Hartline, A-. Chris?
almost want to give Brian
Bless you.
Hartline an incomplete for his position as the offensive coordinator
Again,
because we
he's
still
not the
haven't seen him call
offensive
plays.
coordinator. He's not the
Exactly.
offensive coordinator. He's not. It's Ryan
If
Day.
we look at him strictly as a wide receivers coach, I think A minus is fair. He's doing a great job of recruiting. Um, Still, I think his guys are developing, obviously, at an awesome rate. But you know what I didn't like? The reason the minus would be there, we had a lot of drops this year that we haven't seen in the past.
Mm.
Now, is that the fact that the quarterback's not delivering it quite as well as what we saw from CJ? Sure, but we saw some drops on some really, catchable balls.
Well, if you're talking about
So
Julian Fleming, that's been the name.
Julian
That's been
Fleming,
his
even Emeka
career.
Egbuka, we had Harrison drop a
Ibuka
few
had
this
some.
year.
Yeah, but
And that's going to happen. But you know what?
yeah.
I just feel like that's where the minus comes in from, because other than the few drops, Hartline is nailing the wide receiver job out of the park.
Yeah,
OC, he gets an incomplete.
agreed. Hartline was coordinator in name only. Agreed.
I think we're
Aaron.
gonna find out about the development of the talent in the bowl game when we see Ennis and Tate and whoever else actually get more than a couple series at the end of the game. That's what's going to tell us, are these guys developing or not.
All right, time for the big one. Ryan Day's grade as a head coach. Frank gave him a B minus. Aaron. He's 11. He went 11-1 this season. Lost the last game, the game, by 6 points.
So we have 3 goals here, right? The game, win it. Conference championship, win it. National title. He has not done any of those things. And here recently, he usually gets 2 out of 3. The last 3 years, he has done none of those. The offensive line is about as bad as it's been in years. Everything else is either improving or is good, minus quarterback play. I think that's a very nice grade. I think I can see the fairness in it. But for me, I'm going to blame this on my childhood, on John Cooper. Okay. But I'm going to give him a C plus because he has accomplished none of the big 3 goals that we have here. And that's just how I feel.
I'm with Frank. B minus I think is fair. When you go 11-1, but you're right, Aaron. It can't be that one.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again.
Yep.
Which is which is where we're at. As much as some people want to disagree with us on that one, and we got a lot of slack from Buckeye fans this week disagreeing with our last show last week on Ryan Day, saying we're being way too harsh, that he's not a John Cooper, things of that nature. Cooper never never won nearly the amount of games that Ryan Day is winning.
He's beaten Michigan more times than Ryan has so far.
But listen to what Notre Dame is calling Ryan Day. This is from John Kennedy. Ryan, born on third base, never even took a leadoff day. And
Well,
it's fair.
that's what I was getting ready to say. To be fair, that's it's starting to look more and more like that. I didn't want to believe it at first, but it's starting to look like that more and more.
Brian, I think, sums this up. Cooper was good in the regular season until the game and in bowl season. Day is trending that way.
He's there. There's no trending. He's there.
There's no trending.
Yeah.
Day has done something that Cooper didn't. Day has been winning his bowl games.
We haven't won one in 2 years.
We beat Clemson to get to the national championship. Okay. We beat when we didn't go to the national championship the year before, or the CFP the year before. Did we not defeat
Utah?
U.S. No, U.S.
Utah.
wasn't Utah.
Utah.
Yeah, Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Utah won that one, right? So he's already won more bowl games than Cooper did.
Cooper
or
won
at least
2.
as many.
He won
Uh,
several.
uh,
Yeah,
let
in
me
12 seasons, Cooper won 2 or 3. That's
That's
it.
what I mean. Cooper won a Rose Bowl too. I mean,
let me just go ahead and put this out there, guys. I'm going to say the 4 words I never thought would ever come out of my mouth. Jim Harbaugh was right. Ryan Day has not done anything.
I don't know you.
I don't know yet.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ryan Day has not done anything with his guys.
My
He
thing,
has not
okay.
beaten Michigan with his guys.
So
He beat them with Urban's
can I edit your
guys.
comment? Can I edit your comment?
You can
Take
try.
take the name Jim Harbaugh out and put in Lou Holtz, and I think you're right.
I think they're both right. Ryan Day is a C coach at best right now.
Mm.
At best.
There's no way you can say
I'm
he's a
gonna I'm
C.
gonna back
Do you
Aaron.
know what
I am
the
gonna say
rest of
C,
the
and I'm gonna tell
college
you why.
world is thinking when they hear us say that? That
I don't
we're
care
saying
what they're
Ryan Day's
thinking.
a C coach?
You know what?
Aaron, what do
That's
you think?
because they're looking at the big number, Eric. They're looking at the wins and losses. And yes, that's important. But they're not looking at the fact that he's what, 1-6 against top 5 opponents? He's 1-3 against his rival. He's lost 3 in a row to that team up north. I mean, he's got, like Aaron said, he's got 3 jobs: win the conference, win the game, win the conference, win the title. He's done none of those. His coaching decisions, I think his play calling is erratic. His excuse me for saying like this, but his boys crawl up inside of him every time a game gets close or tough. You've got you've got him out there.
All right,
His
all right,
coaching
all right,
decisions
all right.
are questionable at
Okay,
times.
Chris, you've made your point. Aaron, let's give Aaron a chance here.
I am look, right now he is John Cooper. Okay? That's what we're seeing. That's what the evidence says. I am of the belief who's out there that's better right now. That's going to just seamlessly take over the program the way he has. I am
Nobody.
open, right? I am open, and I still believe in Coach Day. Okay, last week was more of like an emotional, let's get this out of our system. I'm still behind him. Okay, I am still behind him. I am still going to pull for this guy. I just think that he's like right on the cusp, the same way that Cooper was. But I think the difference is Day is younger and still capable of making those adjustments at the
There you
time.
go.
And so I am pulling for him. We're just, dude, we are right there. We are right there.
It is not
I
time
want him to
throw
win. I
in the
want him to prove
towel.
me wrong. I do.
It is not time to throw in the towel on Ryan Day yet. Not yet. I think you're right, Aaron.
Okay, so when is the right time? Is there going to be a coach out there next year who's going to be able to seamlessly come in and take over the program? No.
There is no, yeah, there is. There will be a right time and a right moment. The thing that you have to ask yourself is this: if we get rid of Ryan Day, is it possible that we're getting rid of the guy who in his 50s will win multiple national championships, bring Ohio State to prominence, and be the coach that everybody wished they had? Do you have to ask yourself, and there's a world out there, Chris, where that can happen. And so
He's not going to be here in his 50s, though, Eric. He's going to be in the NFL
you
within the
don't
next
know
5
that,
years.
Chris.
Well,
You don't
hang
know
on.
that.
How long was Nick Saban at Bama before they won a national title?
I think
About 5 or 6 years.
4 or 5.
It was
I
more
think
than
it's
4. Let me look up.
He won one at LSU, so he
Right.
had that. He had that in his feather in his cap already.
I'm gonna look it up because I
Larry
need to know.
Daniel,
Go ahead.
Larry Daniels makes a good point. Take away 2 games of cheat and days 1 and 1. You can't judge to the NCAA rules on the 21 and 22. You can though
You
because
can judge based on the performance, Eric.
yeah, because even if they were cheating, they were so dominant in up in the trenches. That had nothing to do with cheating. That had everything to do with player development in on the offensive and defensive lines. That's where the whole Ryan Day and Ohio State isn't tough came from was those two games. Um, so I would just be I'm very concerned that if we get rid of Ryan Day, we could be getting rid of the next coach to not be Nick Saban, but be a Kirby Smart.
You're talking about the Belichick effect, basically.
Yeah,
Cleveland can't Belichick,
as a
and he went to
Cleveland
New England,
fan,
won
there
titles.
you go. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm with you, Eric. I just don't. He's too young to give up on him. Okay, John Cooper was what 60, late 50s. We got a
So
guy.
is it time to give up on him when he's 2-10-1?
No, I
No,
think he's
before
got
that.
about. I'm going to say, and this is of course contextual. Okay, we'll see what happens. I don't know what the answer is right now. But I think that we give him 2 to maybe 3 years, and that depends, like I said, context. How do these seasons look? You know what I mean? If he is still continually on the cusp, that buys him time. It's not like he's John Cooper, where we went to a bowl game and lost to Air Force. That is inexcusable. That should have had Cooper fired right there. Now, if Day falls that low, gone. But if he continues to be right there on the edge of where we need to be, we have to consider keeping him because it is just this close to breaking through.
Frank makes a good point on recruiting too. He's still
Yes.
pulling top classes, but if those begin to dip and he's still losing, then adios, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
100%.
that makes perfect sense.
But
So
you can't quit a job before you have another one. You can't fire a coach before you have the answer
so
to
B
win.
minus, I say fair. Aaron, you said you would go with C. Is that what you said? Or
I'm going to
Chris, you
say
said
C plus.
C plus. Chris, what do you give him?
A C at best.
Okay. All right. So interesting. We got one more, believe it or not, and that is the entire coaching staff. He gave the overall staff a grade of B minus. Agree or disagree?
Agree. I think that's fair across the board.
I think it's a little high. I would go C plus, but I can see where he's coming from with the B
And
minus.
I'm like you. I could see a C plus, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Again, that's percentage points. C
Yeah.
plus, B minus.
Yeah.
Interesting. I would say the one we disagreed with the most in this exercise was Larry Johnson. So let's tag that in the day conversation, and we will bring Frank on as a guest, and we'll talk about this because I want Larry Johnson to me is at a place where it's any time now we could get the word he's retiring at any moment, right?
True.
I always thought that JTT was going to be his last and Sawyer were going to be his last class. If they stay, I could see him staying one more year. If they leave, I could see him saying, "You know what, I'm done." So that would be very interesting. But last question, we'll get out of here. How many guys on this staff won't return for next season? How many guys do you see Ryan Day getting rid of before next year on this staff? 1, 2, is it more? What's your thoughts?
2.
2?
Fleming and maybe Corey Dennis. Not Corey Dennis. I'm hoping that Fry. We need something better there, and I hope that he sees that.
Okay, Chris.
I'm teetering between 3 and 4.
Wow, that's a
I
big
think
turnover.
I think that Fleming is gone. I think that Fry is gone. I think that Dennis is probably gone. And I don't think that, and this is just my take on it. it's going to have to be a retirement situation. I don't know that this defense is ever going to be 100% with Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles both being on the staff.
Yeah, I know. There might be a lot of difference
I
of opinions
really
there.
feel like Larry Johnson's time could be coming via retirement because we're not going to fire him. Make no mistake about it. We're not going to fire Larry Johnson. But I could see a retirement coming out of that.
Does
And
Jim Knowles take the Duke job because we're
that's
cheap
the other
will?
thing. If does Jim Knowles take the Duke job, and does our tight ends coach look to move up quick and take that OC job down at Coastal Carolina? I mean, he's a hot commodity among college football if you listen to people talk.
It sounds like the Duke thing was more of just a since you asked me, I'll go, but I don't really want it, is what I'm getting. That he's very happy being just a coordinator.
And is there anything to Ryan Day talking to the Carolina Panthers?
Oh gosh, no,
That's not happening.
no, no way.
That place is a
That's
dumpster
A
fire.
that
dumpster
place.
fire.
That Carolina is. Yeah. Frank says, "Thanks for the love, guys. That was a fun listen. Thank you for the article. It was awesome.
Yeah, great material.
I
Yeah.
read that and I was like, we've got to do a whole segment on that because that is good stuff right there. And it turned out to be exactly what I thought it would be. A very good listen, good content.